So, squad, welcome to today's training. And I think we'll start by just giving everyone a massive virtual high five for what was achieved on Saturday. It was unbelievable. Bit of a weirdly swollen hand from a little bit of a slip on Whernside, which I didn't really realise today. And I'm sure a few of you are carrying a few knocks and strains and tight muscles, but the thing that you should be carrying more than anything is a sense of pride on what you achieved. Now, before I go in today's training, which I do believe is going to, like I said, I went into a mindset mission last week. I do believe these next set of trainings starting today with today's are going to be one of the most influential set that's been recorded. So today we're going to be discussing the art of stretching. And that's going to have absolutely nothing to do with loosening off your tight muscles from the weekend. It's about raising your standards. And I released a reel last week when I talked about tough situations build tough people. So stop avoiding tough. Most people avoid tough because they want an easy life. And what then happens is they have a hard life because they avoided tough. So we avoid going to the gym and eating healthy, we're going to end up fat and unhealthy. If we avoid difficult conversations, then we're probably never going to have them and stay in the same place. So the flip side is the key to getting an easy life is going through tough situations and tests of discipline as well. So everyone thought I was crazy, like when I announced that I did two 10Ks on Friday before the Three Peaks Challenge. And then I decided at 7 p.m. on Friday night that I was going to do a 24-hour fast. That lasted until whatever time I took my first nut bar out of Ali's bag, which I think was somewhere in between Pen y Ghent and Whernside. So again, you can look at that situation and say, "Ah, you pussy. You said you were going to fast for 24 hours and you didn't." Well, I still fasted for, I reckon that, what time do you reckon that was, Ali? About midday, wasn't it? So probably 24 hours minus 7. Now, several reasons why people will think, "Wow, that's crazy." Well, one, I'd already eaten a lot of food on Friday, 4,000 calories easy. So, there was energy in the body that I wasn't going to need to eat a lot on the day anyway. But part of that for me and why I do these things, it's a discipline test. And this is why so many people struggle. If let's take like a smoker, for example. If we've not got the discipline to not smoke, how can we expect to achieve anything in any area of life? If we've not got to the discipline to go to the gym when we're tired, if we've not got the discipline to track our food on MyFitnessPal, well, it's very easy to see why you're failing in every other area of life. So what I do is test my discipline on a regular basis every single week. So that to me was a discipline test. And it's shown me that I'm probably still at about 70% because I didn't really need that food. I was just a bit tired and a bit hungry and I wanted a protein bar. But I still didn't have that discipline, and discipline gets tougher the more tired we get. So a great little thing that you guys can do this week to test yourself is set yourself discipline tests. Something that maybe you're not doing. This is heavily researched, right? And you might find this a very inappropriate subject to talk about. You would in no way, shape, or form, probably mostly men this, but some ladies as well. Most men don't have the discipline to go a week without watching pornography or masturbating. And you all might think that is the strangest thing that I've ever heard someone about to say on a podcast in the morning. But that is a discipline thing. Some people don't have the discipline to go one day without a glass of wine, one day without a cigarette, one day without blaming, moaning, and complaining. And this comes down to people will say, oh, I've lost motivation. This is not working. Da, 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 da. And well, it's very not, because that's distraction. So a man doing what I've just discussed, and I'm not going to mention it again, but that's an escape from life to get a dopamine hit off of some unreal pixels on a screen that isn't real. Because any person that doesn't have discipline, doesn't have a plan, doesn't have a purpose, will always find pleasure in distraction. And that's where it lies. People aren't putting the effort into their relationships because they're distracted by other men or women. You know, this has become so bad since social media's become a thing. Go back to like your nan and granddad. They weren't constantly distracted by other people's tits and asses on Instagram 24 hours a day, thinking that the grass is greener. They were dedicated and disciplined to their relationships for their children because they didn't have all this distraction. And this comes down to one, having discipline, but also having a mission, having a purpose, having something that we are working towards that gets us the same dopamine hit as the gambling, as the alcohol, as the food, as the porn, as the whatever people do to get their hit, to get their dopamine hit, to get their 5 to 10 minutes of pleasure that distracts them from the life that they want to escape from, because they haven't created a life that they want to live. They haven't created meaningful goals that they're working towards. And all of these dopamine hits that we get from food, drink, drugs, and anything else, you can get them from setting goals. You can get them from missions. You can get them from purpose. You can get them from doing things with your children, and you know, all these types of things that, you know, climbing the mountain on Saturday, for example. But when we don't have purpose, when we don't have a mission, when we don't have goals, we will always get distracted by some form of pleasure that gives our bodies that dopamine hit to escape from the life that we're potentially not enjoying. So one, create a life that you don't need to escape from. Two, make sure we're focused on our mission, our purpose, and our goals, but making sure that those goals give us the dopamine hit that the negative habits give us. This is why I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of coke addicts, porn addicts, alcoholics over the years. And the key thing where every single one of them goes wrong is they focus on stopping the habit. I need to stop watching porn. I need to stop gambling. I need to stop drinking. I need to stop smoking. I need to stop eating crap every day. I need to stop taking drugs. No. You need to create something that's more meaningful than the stupid, meaningless things that you keep getting your dopamine hit from. The things that are distracting you, the things that are taking you away. So the key to stopping drinking on a Friday night is not stopping drinking on a Friday night. It's doing something on a Friday night that's more enjoyable and gives you the same excitement and hit as maybe drinking the booze, smoking the fags, or whatever else you do does. But if you focus on stopping, you're always going to end up doing the habit. Why? Because it's on your dominant thoughts. It's the main focus in your mind. So the key to stopping is not stopping, it's creating a life that you don't need to escape from. And it's creating something else that gives you an equal or better payoff. This is why so many people, that if I had £1 for every time I've heard someone say this over the last 20 plus years coaching, I don't know why I do it, Lee. You know exactly why you do it. I know exactly why I used to do all of those things, because you get a payoff. It makes you feel good. You get a dopamine rush. It releases your brain from the mundane hamster wheel that has become your life just for a few minutes. But then afterwards, what happens? Guilt, regret, because there was no purpose to it. It was just pleasure. So I'm not saying don't have any pleasure. We all need a bit of fun in our lives, but you know, we can make our mission our pleasure. Saturday was the most amazing experience ever, that people were focused on their mission. So they weren't thinking about, oh, I need to stop this, I need to get rid of this, I need to stop doing that. That's why I take people on these missions out of their comfort zones, away from their phones. So we're just focused on what we're doing. But the key to living a successful life, and just before I go on quickly, also one thing for people, everybody watching this, if you are even still a non-runner now, turn the fuck up for yourself on the 30th of March and do the ultra. I do not care if you only end up walking 5 miles. It's not about running 31 miles or 50 kilometers. It's about showing up for yourself. And it's going to give you mission, purpose, and focus for the next 33, 34 days, especially if you're on the 90-day challenge. It's going to give you mission, purpose, and focus for the last 5 to 6 weeks of this challenge before you either fly solo or come on to the next level. If you are wanting to come on to the next level, I'm going to be in touch with each and every one of you, not all of you, but most of you, over the next few weeks. So, strategy, method in my madness. Those of you who came on Saturday, this is another life tip to take away before I stop my head going crazy and actually start talking about the first line of today's training. Those of you who did the Yorkshire Three Peaks, drop me the word either on Zoom now, if you're watching live, or on the YouTube replay when I post it up afterwards. Having completed Saturday, do you think 31 miles round Rother Valley on completely flat land in a similar time span, not having to carry any kit, is going to be 1, easier than Saturday, or 2, tougher than Saturday? Anyone who comments tougher, go and see a doctor about something that's not right in your head. Because it will be easier. And that's the method in the madness. That's why I did the challenges that way round. That's why I do the things I do. Going back to what I just said about the real tough situations build tough people. Stop avoiding tough. It will be, for people who did it, it will be a piece of cake. You've got a similar time span to move 31 miles, which is only, what, 5 miles more over completely flat land, not ascending and descending 3 of the most brutal hills that I've ever seen in my life. And I don't think anyone else has done it apart from me. But hands down, that on Saturday was tougher than the Fan Dance. And the Fan Dance is SAS selection. Different because SAS selection, you're trying to beat 4 hours, 15 minutes, and it's only up and down the same hill twice with the Roman Road. We're going to be doing that in July, by the way. But it was tougher than that because it up, down, up, down, up, down 3 times with an 8-mile hike between peak 1 and 2. It was brutal. Absolutely brutal. That was why not everybody completed it. But again, it wasn't about completing it. And like I said, every single person did their best. And that's why I did that video in the Facebook group last night if you haven't watched it. And that's all we want. And that's what the ultra is about. Don't get yourself bogged down on I can only turn up for myself and come and do the ultra if I'm confident I'm going to run 30 miles. That's not what it's about. If you do 3 and give me 100%, I'll be prouder of you than you've ever been prouder of yourself. If you walk for 8 hours, I'll be proud of you. It's not about the goal. This is the biggest insight I had last week, and it's a whole nother training, not today's training, which I will start soon. That it's not about the goal. Setting goals is not about achieving the goal, which is why we're going to come on to raising our standards. It's about the person you get to become on the journey towards that goal, the habits you need to build, the discipline you need to build, the commitment, the honesty, the integrity. Whether you achieve the goal or not, you're going to grow. It doesn't matter. Stop being focused on the goal. So the key to living a successful life, a fulfilling life, the life that I want you all to live, rather than settling for the one that you are living now, because I'm here to tell you that every single one of you was born to be incredible. and you want to be incredible and you want more. You wouldn't be watching this video if you wanted more, if you didn't want more, sorry. But so many people take their true potential to the grave and they never end up even getting started to move towards this potential. And in order to do this, we have to understand what I'm going to call the art of stretching. And the art of stretching is the key to raising your standards. That's why when I did a marathon, I then did 2 marathons. I then did 10 marathons in a 16 kilogram weighted vest. I then did an 89-mile run because I failed. I then did a 103-mile run. I'm now attempting 200 miles, and next year I will, if I qualify, be taking on the Marathon des Sables, which is 7 back-to-back marathons over 7 days in the Sahara Desert, fully unassisted, carrying all your own kit. Apart from water, you get 9 kg of water to top back up with each day. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But so I've already set something past the 200 miles. And once the 200 miles is complete, I'll probably set what's going past the April 2025, Ali. Past the Marathon des Sables, that'll be something else. Because this is the art of stretching, not getting bored, not getting distracted, not going back to old habits. This is when people say this all the time. I just want to get back to my best. I just want to get back to where I was. I just want to get back to my old standards. No, back is boring. Back didn't work. Ali, your top just looks like you've got 2 pink boobs sat on the top, on your blue top, by the way. It's really distracting. Oh, it's the top of the love hearts. Where it is on my screen, it just looks like you've got 2 pink stuck on boobs. Anyway, back to the training. So stretching is about moving beyond your. I sometimes forget that these are going on YouTube. Sometimes stretching is about moving beyond your comfort zone, moving beyond what's normal. And as you can see with the way I am, I have to go further and further and further, or that same thing will happen. I'll get bored, I'll get distracted. But a comfort zone is a place where you never push yourself past where you're at now. And the kind of limitations of this is you just go nowhere. And this is when boredom kicks in. And when boredom kicks in, we have no purpose. When we have no purpose, we look for distraction in pleasure. So essentially, you take no risks. You're like, I'm not going to do anything if it's a risk. And this is the way, like, a lot of Western society has become, and I think it's wrong. It's certainly not something I want to breed into Logan. So having this comfort zone and not pushing yourself out of it is nothing short of destroying your own life. I believe in my opinion anyway, not just necessarily destroying your own life, destroying your own opportunity to reach your true potential. So I mentioned and this is where some people live, and I want to take this away. One of my best friends a few months ago, as I said, I think I mentioned this on Friday, he commented on one of my posts. So, man, I would literally give anything to have a body like that. I sent him a message, said, no, you wouldn't, you're full of shit. He was like, that's a bit harsh. I went, it's not. It's just the truth. He says, well, what do you mean? I went, mate, you can't go one weekend without a beer. You can't go 1 month without getting on the nose bag on one of those 4 weekends. You can't do a full week of going to the gym without skipping a session. Yeah, I know, but. Well, no, there is no but. Retract your comment. Retract your comment and go back and comment on my transformation picture and say, I would be willing to do absolutely nothing that you do in order to get a body like that because I'm full of shit and I do nothing but make excuses. And he's literally like, you're on one. I'm not. I says, mate, I love you. You're my mate. I love you more than anything in the world. But don't keep telling yourself things that aren't true, because that's going to hold you back. Okay? You won't give the time. You won't give the investment. You won't give the discipline. You won't put the effort in. You won't do anything sustained for more than a week. You don't have honesty. You have no integrity. I still love you, but you have no integrity. But the main two things are your time and your commitment. And to me, that's a true friend. And once he calmed down, he said to me, do you know what? You're right. You are right. Can you help me? I said, yeah, of course I can. If you're willing to stop telling lies, I'll help you. I help anyone who's willing to stop telling lies. As long as we keep telling ourselves lies, the day that I looked myself in the mirror and said, Lee, you are a liar, is the first day that I moved forward. So it's just the case, isn't it? You know, everybody sometimes wants to hear the truth until it doesn't match up with the pictures of what they want the truth to be, kind of thing. But, you know, everything that you're working towards, I think this very often happens in business people as well, is kind of pointless without your health as well, without your health and without your happiness. And that's why it's so prominent to me and why I do what I do. And a lot of that comes from the peer group. Like the energy between everyone on Saturday was just electric. Like the support, the love in the groups afterwards. And that's what we need to be around. And again, that's what a lot of people don't have. Imagine that same peer group, but they all just get leathered every weekend still and blame, complain, and justify and have a pity party. It's exactly the same thing. But you know, without health, we can work all the hours in the world. We can have all the money in the world. We could have the house, the car, everything we want. But essentially, your life's still going to end up being cut short because of injury, of disease, of whatever, because you failed to take care of yourself. So for me, the number one thing to raise our standards on, first of all, is our health. Because without our health, we have nothing. You could have all the money in the world. Without your health, you have nothing. So obviously our health comes from our diet, our exercise, our hydration, our personal development. But again, I think why it's so important and why it's something that we need to keep evolving and moving towards, and which is why I also don't do set diet plans. I've told the story about the amount of times how I've been offered huge amounts of money to write 7 set-day diet plans, and I won't do it because to me that's not where the magic is, because it's about finding what consistently works for each individual. And I could write each individual the most perfect set diet plan in the world. They're only going to stick to it for so long. But we also need to remember, you know, if you are a person who's listening to this and thinking, God, I've just heard what he says, I really want to do that ultra, but I've never even run anywhere. Like Richie Bleakley's first stroke, before I met Lee, you know, Richie's ran an ultra now, and he openly said on the Facebook post, before I met Lee, the only place I'd ever ran to was the Chippy when I thought it was going to close. And here he is running ultra marathons, training for a triathlete. So, you know, it comes with starting small, whether it's personal development, whether it's health. If you've never run a mile, then running a mile is raising your standards and stretching. You know, that's how mine did. I'd never run at all. Then I ran 1 mile, then I ran 2, then I ran 100, then I ran 200. I haven't run 200 yet, sorry. It doesn't matter. But the art of stretching is just about one, getting started and then stretching a little bit further each week. Some of you, especially the people who will be coming to the end of your first 90 days, which I hope isn't your only 90 days and you carry on and stay part of the team. But some of you will already be thinking that that's a final point, that that's an end point, that, brilliant, I did that, I did really well, I lost this weight, I finished that 90 days. Well, if you don't set something new, if you don't keep accountability, if you don't keep a peer group, if you don't have new goals, new missions, new purpose that requires commitment, discipline, and persistence, then you will just slowly, week by week, go back to exactly where you were. And that's what happens. That's what happens so often. That's why we have so many repeat clients. I think there's 82 people on the January 90-day challenge. I think 61 of them are return clients. It's just proof in the pudding. It just tells the story. But, you know, even why this is so important, when I had this epiphany, And it's quite personal, this actually. Why I realized it was so important was when I finished the 103 miles, I've never felt that good. I've never felt I was center of attention, and I don't care anyone says. I'm going to do a training on the 6 basic human needs, and significance is one of them. Love and connection is another one. I've never felt so much love and connection. So I'd almost satisfied most of my human needs in one amazing experience. You know, I'd given to others. I felt incredible. And then I got home and I got in the car and I'm like, I'm fucking laid in a bed in a house on my own. I'm like, and I spoke to Jason about it. I'm like, I feel like fucking shit, mate. It's like 3 days later. Because again, it's that dopamine hit, isn't it? It's the same as the porn, the drugs, the booze, the everything. I'd had that hit, and then I'm like, fuck, I'm empty, man. I feel like I've got nothing. And not that's a bit of an exaggeration. But on Wednesday, I'm like, I'm lonely, like, and there's got to be new. And I set them off, I need to set a new goal. So I did the 60 miler for Crohn's because there has to always be that new thing. Like, no matter how big that thing you achieve is, and 100 to 3 miles is pretty big, that hit's temporary. It's so temporary. Losing the stone, temporary. Getting the pay rise, temporary. Getting the new bird, temporary. New house, temporary. New car, temporary. So this is why it's so important to understand the purpose of the goal is not the goal. If you start to make all the emphasis just about achieving the thing, then that's when you won't feel emotionally well. Because as I said, it's about who you get to become on the journey. I went from 10K to 13 miles to 26 miles to 10 times 26 miles in 30 days in a 16 kilogram weighted vest to 50 kilometers to 50 miles to 89 miles to 103 miles to now attempting 200 miles. And every single one of them, I felt low afterwards. Why do I feel this way? Because it's temporary. So there will always be a next. And this era of my life will never end now. In body, in business, in being, in things I do with Logan and everything, because I've understood that I have to keep setting new things. I have to keep setting new targets. I have to keep raising my standards. Think about like, don't know where this has just come from. Think about computer game designers. Why are they multi millionaires and why do they hook people in? What has every single computer game got? Another level, another level, another level. You never reach the end, do you? I'm not into computer games, but the two that come to my mind that I hear people talk about are like, is it Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto? I don't know. There's another big one, isn't there? That you know they just go and go and go and go and go and they never end. And there's always another level. So Fortnite, that's the other one, isn't it? So if you don't keep raising your standards, if there's not always a new level, then we get bored, we get comfortable, we get distracted, we go back to old negative habits. And I was literally there 3 days after the 101 mile run, feeling depressed. And it wasn't so much because I got comfortable, because I then didn't have something that I was moving towards that was making me feel excited. And that was one aspect of it. But then the next aspect of it is thinking, actually, I need to set these goals, but I'm taking all the emotional power back as to whether I achieve them or not. So as I said 3 years ago, I couldn't run 3 miles non-stop. But now I'm going to be really honest here. I think I'll do the 200 miles because I think my mind's in a place currently where unless anything goes wrong with my body in the next 3 months, that I'd do it. Unless I got medically withdrawn, I really don't think I can fail it because a lot of the work's already been done and the strategy's there. But I'm kind of not too attached to that. Like I'm not that the things are in place afterwards. It's just another stepping stone in the journey of my life. And the reason why I've already applied for the Marathon des Sables is because then it kind of makes the 200 miles not too important. It takes some of the power away from it because there's another thing afterwards. And if I don't do it, I'll just do it again 3 months later. So what I'm trying to do is take the power away from, and this is big with ADHD, with dopamine as well. It's what we're looking for all the time. That's why we keep signing up to the courses and buying the cars and the houses and then going, fuck, what did I do that for? But it's taking the power away from the goal and just understanding that on the 30th of May, and you're all invited to come down, by the way. I'll be starting on the Thursday. I'm hoping to finish on the Saturday, so everybody can join for a bit. A target 60 hours, B target 65 hours, C target is 70 hours. After that, who cares? So again, we've got targets and goals to go for, but I'm genuinely taking the importance away from it and looking at it from a perspective of I'm going to be in the best physical shape of my life on the 30th of May. I'm going to take on the biggest challenge I've ever taken on in my life. All you guys are going to be there. I'm going to have a great day and I'm going to do my best. That's it. Win or lose, I'm happy. I've dealt with it emotionally already. Of course, I want the hit. Of course, I want the success. Of course, I want the newspaper articles, the TV saying 200 miles. Anyone who didn't want that significance and that love would be a liar. But what I'm saying is, it's not the only thing that it's about now. Does that make sense? So, so why did I set what? Why have I entered the Marathon des Sables? If I if I go through some of what's involved, I don't know if any guys you guys have heard of it. It's crackers. It's literally the world's. It is renowned as the world's toughest foot race. 41% of people pass it. 7 days, 151 miles, zero support, carrying all your own kit. It's in the Sahara Desert. Day 4 is the day when most people quit because it's a double marathon. 4 days in, so you've already done 3. Violent dust storms, lots of kit. It can be up to freezing conditions at night. It can be up to 50 degrees Celsius in the day. Scorpions, snakes, and everything in between. Now I can see some faces looking at me like, you are absolutely bonkers. Guess what? Imagine this for an insane statistic, which I'm going to leave you with. You have to have a lot of medical checks before, by the way. So you think there's comfort zones and there's being stupid and there's putting yourself in a position of death, and you're a dad and should you really be doing that, because what if it went wrong? When I've looked deeply into it, most people won't know this. 2008, 3 people died in the New York Marathon. More people have died doing the London Marathon than have ever died doing the Marathon des Sables. So again, we kind of look at something and think, oh, I can't do that because that's too hard and the risks are too big. When actually, if you look into it, they're not actually that big at all. It's just very, very difficult. And somebody else, another statistic that, again, if you struggle with comfort zones and setting new goals and doing things that are difficult because you've developed this kind of mindset of not taking risks because you want to stay comfortable, the life insurance for a roofer, I believe the last time I read this, is about 20 times higher than the life insurance for a police officer. You think, what? Police officers are like literally in the line of fire of getting killed every day, and firemen and all of that. Well, they're not. It's just the very small minority that the press pick up on. and put on the front page of the newspaper. I know loads of coppers. Most of them are absolutely bored shitless every day, and they're lucky if they get one exciting job every 6 to 7 months. Yeah, you know, because what we see on TV, we think it's all like kicking down drug houses and running down streets with guns and being fired at and all this kind of thing. When actually, when it's looked into, the danger level of being a roofer or a scaffolder is 100 times higher than being a, you know, than being a policeman. So the point that I'm getting at is, you know, with the challenges and that, sometimes when we look at something and think, oh no, I can't do that, it's too risky. Again, sometimes step away, and that's what I did with this. Well, let's look at the actual risks. Well, actually, they're not that bad, because there's a lot of people around there, and you know, people, what's in place probably at the New York Marathon in terms of safety and tests to go and do it is a lot different to the safety and tests that you have to even pass to be able to do this. So, but setting new goals as well, coming back to that before I finish, is, you know, you guys will have heard me say this so many times before, and it's what I'm going to end on. Why do I feel I am excited about it? Why do I feel excited about it? Why am I excited about the 200 miles? It's not because I'm a complete psycho and I've lost the plot. It's because I don't know if I can do them. And sometimes it works the other way around. You get caught out. I don't think anyone thought that the full team wouldn't complete the full 3 peaks on Saturday. That was a fucking bastard of a challenge. That's one of the toughest things I've ever done. So sometimes it works the other way. But again, that's why it's so exciting. So if you're struggling a little bit with motivation, with drive, with mission, with purpose, with all these things, couple of critical things I'm going to leave you with is to set new goals today that force you to raise your standards. And I promise you, if not, you'll get comfortable and you'll start to feel like I did after the 103 miles. But in order for goals to be real goals that we're moving towards, even though we've still gone back and removed the emotion away from whether we actually achieve them or not, if you want that excitement, if you want that mission and you want that purpose, and you know how and that goal is well within your reach, that's where you're going wrong, because that's not going to excite you enough. I couldn't go out and train now to do a 100-miler in May, because I've already done it. But I could go out and train to do the Yorkshire 3 Peaks again because I didn't complete it. So it's about stretching, 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 stretching. And that is what I mean by the art of stretching. And the other critical thing that you'll see have married through in everything that I've discussed today is dates and deadlines. I'm not saying I'm going to run 200 miles sometime this year. I'm not saying I might do the Marathon des Sables in 2025 or 2026. I'm not saying I might do it. I'm going to make the decision on whether I do it after the 200 miles. It's a firm commitment to firm goals that I don't know how I can achieve, with the emotion of whether I do or not removed, because I'm more committed to the person that I become on the journey moving towards them, with dates and deadlines. And that is the most powerful way to do it. Because going right back to, I think it was last Monday's training that I did, if we don't do this, then this is when we will fall into that disease of tomorrow, someday, one day, and all of those other things. And like I said, again, to finish on Tim's famous quote that, you know, if you think the cost of winning is too high, wait until you get the bill from regret, because that's generational. So let's set big goals. Let's remove the emotion away from whether we achieve them or not. make sure they make us feel excited, and most of all, make sure we're moving towards things that are testing us to raise our standards and committing to the art of stretching to keep moving forwards. Because if your goals don't scare you and you know how to achieve them, they're not big enough. If we're not facing challenge in life, we're also not playing big enough. I will see you all on Wednesday morning. Have an absolutely amazing Monday. Love you all.